Hello and good evening. It's me, and I hope you are there as well to move forward a bit on improving the code, improving the characters, improving the replication. I mean, we did something good yesterday, also thanks to the help of one of the guys that is following us here on the stream, and we basically managed to have replication working for the materials associated to the meshes, which was one of the things that I left over a long time ago, and so we did that. Now, what we need to do today is to do the same but for characters. Hello, way. Do the same but for characters, meaning that also the characters have materials to set, have materials on their weapons, on their maybe hair or on their skin, like tattoos or decals in general. So we need a way to set the material based on the information we have in the database. So I think we had this schema yesterday to explain a bit what we were doing, and these are the two missions that we have. Okay, so enable skin changes on item on the ground, so on what we call APS item actor, and then enable traits on characters on the skin that their item have. So an item can be can be a golden one or a steel one or whatever, and it may have different skins, and so we need to load those skins in the item. At the moment, Unreal Engine, for whatever reason, is not replicating that. I don't know exactly why, but anyway, it's not. So it's replicating only the base item with his default skin. So if he has one skin, okay, sorry, I forgot to switch because I did this new thing of setting up, and it is this new thing of setting up a screen in OBS that switches between different scenes, which is very cool. But then I forgot to switch to the main scene, Okay, thank you for that. So what I was saying is that we have these two missions. So mission 1 and mission 2. Oops. And these two missions are, let's say, to skin, well, not to skin because we know how to skin, but to ensure that the skin of the items and the character is propagated properly and replicated properly to all the clients. So we did it already somehow for the items, because actually in our so that how we did that, basically in our item actor, which is, yes, the class that is holding, let's say, our items, we have declared a new function which is called on material change, and we have declared a new property which is triggering that function whenever its value changes, right? So if I change the material name anywhere in the code, what happens is that on material changed is getting called, this function, right? And actually this function is then changing the material on the clients. The good part of this replicated using is that this function is automatically replicated on all the client like a multicast, with some additional benefits which I didn't test yet, but they tell me that the additional benefits are also that this is getting replicated only when needed. So for example, when the character is in view, and not if the character is not in view to another character. So which is a good, which is a good thing. So now I think what we did just to see if it was working was to setting the material as let me go check where I did it, but I did it inside the item creation. So very simply, this is our function to create an item. It's called create item. We do a bunch of stuff, and here I just kind of hard coded the material just to see that it was working, right? But now I think we need to do it properly. And we have seen that yes, all our items were getting the proper color. So for example, if I start my, well, the proper color, that color, okay, that hard-coded color. So if I start, give me a second, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. So if I start client and server, assuming that they still start properly, well, I think yes, because I didn't do any changes since yesterday, so we are exactly at the time of yesterday night. So if I start the client and the server, what is happening is that basically the server is ignoring any material change. So it's not setting any material, any new materials really on the server because it doesn't care. But as soon as one client connects, is getting the information of the replication on the clients, right? On this client and on the other clients. Let me see if I can log in. Yes, it seems it's loading up. Okay. And so for now we have one texture which is hard coded just because we want it to be very visible, right? And if you see the items on the grass, so the item in my hand is like this word, right, which is golden, kind of golden. And if I drop it, right, if I drop it to the ground, you see it becomes green, and will be green for everyone else, right? Because just this is the hard-coded value, okay? So the one that we did. So it means that objects on the ground work well. Now the objects on the ground are PS item actors, so they are actually actors, while the items in my inventory are not actors but are meshes just attached to a specific socket. So this is why when I put it in my hand, it doesn't have the overridden color, but just has say the basic color, right? Yeah. So so for example, the one that I have in my hand now is a golden falcon, you see. But if I swap it with a steel one, unfortunately, wait a second. Yes, you will see still golden. So that's the problem we have, right? So hello, Sans. Hey. No, the weapon drop works well. The item drop works well. What we need to do is replication of the materials, because Unreal is not really replicating materials automatically for whatever reason, and so we need to replicate those kind of manually, right? So that's the point. And sorry for the noise of the fountain, but it's super loud as usual. Let me go in a place that is more quiet. Yeah, it's like here. And so this means that this weapon at the moment on the server side is actually skinned to be green, right? But on the client side I don't see it, right? I don't see it green. I don't see it green because that is not automatically replicated, right? And so this is what we have to do. So we have to ensure that the material change on the item is replicated properly, right? And my suggestion to you would be anyway to always test multi-client, because sometimes, you know, certain stuff is replicated but only to the owning client, only to the client that you are using to test, and not to the second, third or fourth client that is connecting. So you should test it on multiple clients, with multiple clients. Okay, so let's do this. So what do we want to do? You see also this weapon is green because it has the overridden material, right? So we want, when we drop a falcon, which is a steel falcon, to see it actually made of steel, Yes, exactly. We are going to use rep notify. Yes, I was not aware of it until yesterday, but luckily a guy told me, and so I'm aware now. So I'm not going to use, let's say, a custom RPC function or anything. I'm just going to use the rep notify. So yes. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so let's do it for the items on the ground first, okay, which is the one that we care at the moment. So for that on the ground is very easy, actually, I think. Let's see if it's easy, because we just have to change this line to actually be, and by the way, I think I can remove any of these tests on materials, because these were all different possible tests. I have it in subversion anyway if I want to get back to it, so let me delete all these tests. So this sets the mesh, this sets the material through rep notify. I don't like to call it rep notify. Why do you call it rep notify if in reality it's called, because the other guy was calling it rep notify as well, right? But actually the term I think that Unreal Engine is using is replicated using. Is this thing, replicated using. So I mean you can call it rep notify, but is called like this. Maybe in the documentation is rep notify. I have no idea. It's always called in blueprints. Okay, that's why. Okay, so maybe I can put it in parentheses just to remember. Rep notify. Okay, so we set the material. Now we don't want this material, but we want to have the material that is actually in the database, right? So for us, the material is in the database is under texture, I think. Yes, it's under texture, and he has the full material name. Now, this is not really a good idea to keep the full string. So maybe in the future we will change it and we will have it as an int pointing to a table that is on the client side only, so that would be easier, you know. That would definitely be easier. I'm just thinking if we should do it now or not. Maybe we can, but maybe we can, because I mean the difference is that here instead of all of this mess you will have just numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and the only problem is that the people will have to go and check what is what, you know, all the time, if he's available in the transition table, right? Let's say. Okay, so we need the texture, the GFX texture. So what is this thing? So what I'm passing in the instance, the tribe, get location in work and in magic. I think I have it in my item data. Item instance is pointing to my, okay, so I have the get mesh name. So I think it's as simple as, what is all this mess, by the way? I think I can remove all these comments. You fix me criteria, the 3D object, new gem item, cache manager, blah blah blah. All of this I think we can remove, because finally we are creating here the 3D object. So the only problem is that yes, we for containers we didn't do anything specific, but this can go away. Let me clean a bit of this code. Yeah, this is okay. Is my mesh component? What was this? This was another test. I think we can remove it. Yes, this one, which is get texture name, is exactly the one that is. Now, one thing that we can try. No, we have to explicitly set it anyway. Yes, we have to explicitly set it. But anyway, it's this. It's just this one. It's just this one, right? So we can set it as the texture name. And you managed to chop down, save and reload, remove trees spawn using the procedural curve generator. Nice. So you generate trees and then you can chop them down, and they do they respawn after some time, or how does that work? Okay, so we set the material. Now this I think it should be enough to trigger the change. Now the only problem is that we need to be sure that we have in our database the right values, otherwise it will never work, right? And also what we have seen is that we need the material, we don't need the texture, which is a bit annoying, but anyway, this is how we're gonna do. So let me see the falcons just to see if they have. So gold falcon, falcon and steel falcon. Okay, let's start with this tree. So these three have these textures. Okay, this unfortunately is not enough for us, so we need to go and change this. We need to go in the editor. Maybe we can make a table. Actually, in the old client, we had exactly the same. So we didn't move strings between client and server, but we were moving only integers, only IDs, and then each ID was corresponding to a string, which was loaded only client side. Let's say the bad side of that is that if someone changes the strings client side, they can change the color of this word or whatever. Obviously, only on their client, not in the other clients, but they can change it like this. But I don't think we care. So yeah, we need a good naming convention, because otherwise this will become very, very messy. So our naming convention is pretty simple. Is object name variation, meaning geometry variation, texture variation, underscore math. Okay, so that's the way we code the thingy. So if I want, now it will be interesting to know which one, which is which. If this one is the steel or this one is the base. Good question. Any one of you playing Planeshift knows if this one is the steel or is the base? Falcon B, Falcon A. I have no idea. But anyway, you can assign one or the other, and then say, how do I say it? If I go, I think I have to open up the old client and check. Okay, let's assume that this one is the base one, and the one that is all steel is the steel one. Okay, so the B will be our normal one. So unfortunately, I think the only way for me to do this is to generate a new material. So I think I have to do this, create material, call it Falcon 1B underscore math, do the same for the A, and I will have to do this for each of the item and each of the variations, which, if you think about it, it's pretty crazy. But unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have a better way. Unless, the other way is to create maybe a material on the fly. Creating a material on the fly, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so let's do this. 1, 2, and 3. So let's save these guys because we want this to be saved. Yeah, I think I would like to create the integer table now, because if I do it later, I will be lazy. I will not do it. So if I do it now, I think. So let's go under data. Now, do we already have something like this? Because I think, you know what? I think we have it already, now that I think about it. Because I remember we have, I just don't remember where is it, but I think we have, because we have it for the icons. We have it for the icons, you say. So we have a specific name, and we got, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we need something very similar to this. Do we need anything more than this? Because the idea was that, you see here we had the icon name, the description, the position, and the mesh. In theory, if we add another column, which is the material, we could use one entry only. The problem is that there may be items with different icons that have different materials. You know, I think I want to keep it separate. I think it's cleaner. If I keep it separate, it's cleaner. It gives me more flexibility. You know. So data table item icons, very nice. We need a data table item materials. Now, don't remember what data table is. Media tag, maybe miscellaneous. Yes, data table. Okay. Now we need to select one of these structures, or we can create a new one, right? I think I would like to create a new one. These structures are defined here, like struct items. Let me see, description and mesh. Okay. Struct macro, struct skill description, struct spell. So we need to create a new one, which will be. Do we want to make one specific for textures, or do we want to have one generic for everything? I think one specific for textures, because in reality, in the old plan shift, we had a kind of a common string table that we add anything into it, but probably is not a great idea. Where I have this structure thingy, structure. I don't see it. I think it's here, but I'm not seeing it. It should be called something like data structure. No. Why not? I can copy that one and say, what is the name? The name is just a structure. Structure. Is under blueprints. Okay. So we will call this struct textures. Okay. And the struct texture will be super easy. Will be ID, which is an integer. I open integer will be enough, unless we have millions and millions and trillions. And default value. I need to add a new value. First I have to save it. I think new variable. Yes. And the second one is texture, right? And this will be a string. So this one, let me see if this structure looks okay. Yes, I think it looks exactly like the others. So this structure is fine. We save it, and so now we create a new data table, and this new data table will use struct textures, and that table will be called dt item textures. Well, I don't know if it's only items, because we can use the same also for characters, right? DT, let's call it just DT data table textures. I think it's enough. Data table textures. Okay. So now we can add a new row, right? And we can say that our ID is 1, and our texture is, and we take, now we need a way to generate this automatically, because doing manually, it seems to be slightly annoying, but to say the least. But maybe I will find a way to do it, automatically. Yes, but this is one row. Then we add another row, which will be number 2. Why I'm clicking there for new row and clicking here? I don't know. I think it's the only way, probably. And so this will be A, this will be B. Now you may say, is there a way you can generate it automatically without, you know, going crazy and typing all this shit? I don't know if I can generate it automatically because I have the name of the item. I mean, we could assume that the name of the the mesh is the same as the name of the texture, but it would be a bad assumption because it's not always the case, you know. So sometimes we use texture, sometimes so. It's not always the case. Copy reference. Okay, so we have our 1, 2, and 3. Now the point is, if it doesn't find anything, what should it do? If it doesn't find anything, I think it leaves the base texture. Yes. Which I think is fine. Yeah. Why these things have a name? Row name. When I'm searching, I hope I'm searching by ID, or I'm searching because otherwise I can use the name as the ID. I don't remember when I'm searching these data tables. DT item icons. Let me check. Find blueprints. DT item icons. So when I search in the data table, I search by name. Oh my. Okay, so no. Revert everything. So we need the ID to be in the name actually. Revert everything. So like for spells, we are searching this. Yeah. Okay, so the ID. So we already fucked up, but we can. Luckily, we discovered it quick. So I don't need the ID basically. The ID will be my row name. So I can save it like this. Let's see what happens to my textures. Doesn't keep shit. Okay, no, I removed the ID. No, I did it. So this one will be 1. This one will be 2. And this one will be 3. Okay, so we use the row name as the entry point. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. A, B, and C with my textures. Okay, nice. So we could actually do the same for icons then, so we don't send all this stuff. And for meshes, we'll do the same for meshes as well if you want. The problem is that it's much less understandable in the database then. But okay, but so basically now what I want to do, I want to have the Falcon as A, which is actually 1. Oops. The steel, which is this one, is 2, and this one is 3. Okay, so we apply the changes, very easy changes, and so now we have just an ID that we are sending through. Yes, that we are sending through. So this ID at this point has to be set. So I have to change this function, which now will take an ID. Right? Now we've taken ID, so in my PS item actor, this is an int, and I mean it can be called material string. Well, let's call it material ID maybe, so that it's a bit more, you know. Material ID, and this will be in material ID equal to material ID. And here we will have material ID. This will be an int, and your material change stays the same. Okay, fine. So now the only thing we need to do now, when we set the material, we get a texture name, yes, but then we have to convert it to integer. So I think it was what, fc string something, a2e whatever. If IntelliSense comes up, but I think I do it quicker if I just go here. And I search a2i. Yes, it's fc string a2e. Yes, so of the string. So this, and this. Okay. So we set the material as an integer of this, and what? This part should be okay. This part should be okay. Now, the problem is that when we receive it on the client, where do I have the set material thingy? I don't remember at all. Where do I on material change, right? Yes, I have to go in this function. If you go inside on material change, at this point we need to load the material. Yes. So now here, okay, I was not remembering we were doing it by code. So we need to see how to load the data table by C++, because I never did it. But we basically need to find the material string, and I need a piece of code which is the same as get data table row. So I need that. Real engine get data table row C++. If you know it already, tell me. There is only blueprints. Get row by name, blah blah blah. Find row enemy file structure pin name. Oh, as easy as that. Wow. The structure is automatically declared. Really? How does it know? How does it know? I guess it needs to be then a C++ struct. Because I declared it in the blueprint, but I declared it here, but I don't think that the code sees this, right? Do you think that the code can automatically see this? I don't think so. F enemy is my own custom stack. In the play with your own struct, you can create data table and improve assign a table to it. Yeah, the problem is that this struct, you know, I have a number of structs declared in the code already, but they're not showing up in the blueprints, I think, right? Like, let's see which one I have. So for example, I have this one, ustruct blueprint type fcombat event message, right? So this one, if I want to use it as a data table, is not showing up. So maybe there is another flag, you know. Pretty surely there is another flag. There is another flag of ustruct that allows me to do that. And I never did this, so let me check. Ustruct, epic wiki, how to make a ustruct, blah blah blah. Blueprint type, struct f student generated body. Do I have the generated body? Yeah, I think I have everything. Yeah, great. I need a new struct for a data table. That's the problem. Ustruct data table. That's the issue. Here it is. Your struct needs to be derived from F table row base in order to be made data table. Okay, data type are limited. You might consider using number instead of enums. It's kind of something making next struct. So I think it needs to be outside the class. Blah blah blah. Okay, so I think that's the only point to have it derived from F data row table. Now, do we need that? Do we want to declare our structure here? I think we have to, because if we don't do it, the C++ code will not see that structure. So we have no way. I mean, we have no other way. We are forced to do it. So okay. Okay, this is how it does it. He has a uStruct body. Actually, in my structures, I have generated body. I don't have uStruct body. Right? Struct, I have generated body. I don't have uStruct body. Is it different? Maybe it is. But it works for me in the other case. Okay, let's just copy this. And we will make our new, so uStruct blueprint, blah blah blah. We will call it, can we call it something different? So because we call this struct textures, right, which is this one. So let me delete this one, otherwise I think it will mess up with this. This one we will delete as well for now. So we will call it struct underscore or struct textures. Okay, struct textures deriving from that, and generate the struct body public. So what do we need? We need a property which is just the name. So it's very easy. So we need just, is the property in the struct declared differently? No, it's exactly the same. So okay, so is a blueprint read and write. I would say yes, and this one will be called texture. Now the name I hope I get automatically, right, because it should be part of this thing. So I don't think I have to declare the name again, because the name should be part of ftable row base. Yeah, so I think that's the only thing I need to do. So now the only problem is that I need it in my editor, and to do that I will just clean up my DLL so it gets recompiled, and we compile this and see what happens. Okay, boys? Do you want some background music? I found some background music that I can actually play if I give credit to the people. So is this one, and is Celtic Music whatever. So this is their YouTube channel, by the way. So I'm just giving credit to Derek and Brandon Fletcher for the music that I'm actually playing. Okay, so they don't get upset if I play some of his music in the background. Okay, it's 3 hours, so come on. Okay, 3 hours is enough for us. And when we will have more plane shift music, maybe we will play more. I miss a comma. Okay, I can give you a semicolon. Tell me if the music is too loud. I would like the music to be super background, like that you can hear it, but really little. I mean, just enough, but not much. I don't want the music to be dominant. I want my voice to be dominant. I just want the music not to be annoying. It's a kind of a generic background fantasy music, so. Okay, so we are recompiling this, and in a second we will start the editor again. We recompile the DLL. Changing this class messages.h takes a bit to recompile because it's included by so many other classes. Wow, didn't like me at all. I think I missed the parenthesis. Yes, I did. It's kind of a relaxing music, you know. I think there is also some more fast music. Maybe it will come in the 3 hours. Why doesn't like me? Material name, yes, because we called it material ID. We called it actually material ID, and we can set it as -1 just to have it initialized to something. Did we call it material ID or texture ID? I think we called it material ID. So here we should do this. And yes, here we need to see how to do it. For now, yeah, for now here he has to be. Okay, let me just create a temporary string, otherwise this guy becomes mad and doesn't compile. Right? This one should be material ID as well. Just because I changed it from a string to an ID. By the way, Zway, since you are listening, where are we on the characters? Because actually I didn't check any of that, but roughly where we are. Where are we? Like, do I have a chance to use it to see a full character soon? Because I would like to start to use it. Also for the traits, I think I will need the character. Well, no, for the traits I think I can. Code-wise, I can work anyway. Also, if there are no final characters, but then at a certain point I will need it. At least one. At least I will need at least one character to be completed. We have the right naming convention, you know, the right pieces, so that I can mess with the code and see what works and what breaks. Okay. At the end, did you decide to use the T pose, or did you decide to adapt our pose to the Unreal pose? Okay, so you decided that way. I was more eager on the other one, but it's... The retargeting has error in the hands, okay. No, but what I meant was to import the T-pose that I shown you, so that you basically reset the Unreal T-pose, Unreal pose to T. But it's okay. But whatever works well for you, it's good. Okay, so now, in theory, if I want to create a new structure, new data structure, it should show my new... Yeah, it shows my struct textures, but it doesn't show the other ones anymore. Why? That's kind of interesting. Wow. So I completely destroyed these ones? Why? I mean, I can use this, which is nice. I can use DT item textures, but which has name, yeah, so like I will do like plus, I will do like 1. Or I cannot set the texture. What the fuck? Why I cannot set? Okay, let's go back to the example. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I need this edit anywhere. The problem is that all the other structure went away as soon as I did this, which is a bit annoying. As soon as I created my own, I kind of fucked up. I mean, why is override? Like, if it's overriding... I don't like that too much. Let's try with the edit anyway. But why this struct declaration removes the one in the blueprints? I mean, why as soon as I created this, the other went away? It's a bit annoying. Let me add just the edit anywhere and see what happens, okay? Maybe that will fix it. So I'm starting the editor and recompiling that. Should go quick now. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear, Sway. I think this week I can stream basically every evening. We'll try to... I don't know if I want to stream every evening, but I will try to. Because I also want to do other stuff, but I will try to... yeah, work on it steadily to move the code on. Now that we have all the repository, you know, for the art, and there is a bit of stuff to do on the art side because you have the characters, that the texture to create. I think I can go back now here to the code and start to proceed with the code. Okay, the editor is starting. Let's see if we are more lucky. No, it didn't take much time if you think about it. I mean, it's if you think to the time of, I mean, it's not much. I don't think it's I think it's okay. Took a reasonable time. Yeah. Now that I have this, I can only use this. I don't know why, but it's interesting. Yes, now I can edit the texture. Okay, so now I can do what I was doing. Right. Okay, so now it works. So with the trick was edit anywhere. So the trick was this, edit anywhere. But the problem is that as soon as I derive one abstract, everything, all the others disappear. So which is a bit strange to me. Maybe a bug or something, because it seems very strange. Huh? It appeared now. I clicked on reload and it appeared. Why? Okay. I clicked on reload the selected asset from the file on disk, and then it magically appeared, but I don't know. I think I will have to post it on some freaking thingy, on some forum. This guy seems to have a similar problem, but it was in 2014, so I don't think that anyone has this, but do we want to post it or not? We may want to post it. Do you want to post it? I mean, we can. The problem is how do we call it? How do we call this thing? So we can call it afro data table makes other entries, other blueprint entries disappear. I don't know if it's really understandable, but I want to post in C++. My product version is 4.18. Say hi, I created a number of structure just in the editor with what? With create something with miscellaneous, no, with blueprint structure, with blueprints structure, and those show up properly when I try to create a new data table. Data table I created with miscellaneous data table using miscellaneous data table, right? Alright, I create a number of structure in the editor with blueprint structure, and those show up properly when I try to create a new database table. Okay, fine. Then I created a new C++ struct like this. Like this. Boom. Code. Boom. From that moment in the editor, I cannot see from the editor when I create a new data table with the same command, obviously, with blah blah blah. I see in the list only my C++ struct. The other structs created in the editor are not available anymore unless I right click on those and select what was it? Reload asset, asset actions, reload, asset actions, reload. Is this a bug? Does it has any impact on my structs? I don't know. I mean, it could be. I want to post it in C++, I told you already. Tags are required. Tags are C++, Real Engine 4. I need data tables. Is there a data table? Yes, data table. And struct or abstract. Structure? Yes. I don't know. I posted just for the people to know that they can right click and reload in case they mess up, you know. Should it be C++? I don't know. C++ implementation of this. Should it be C++? Other blueprint structure disappear. Maybe it's more understandable. It can. Okay, so yeah, we posted that just in case, but for now I think we don't care. So we just go with this, we just go with what we have. So we will call our new structure, we said DT textures, right? So now we have it. Now the good thing is that we have it in C++ and in blueprints, right? Which was where we hung up before. I never did it, so that's why it took me quite a bit, but let's say now that we have this, I can have, so if we go under weapons, swords, and we take our three thingies, we do copy reference, and boom, then +2, so I'm redoing exactly what I did before, but this time should be correct. The material B, copy reference, boom, +3, and the material reference of C, right? Okay, we save this, so finally we have our small table, but anyways, table that we need. And in the code, whenever we are setting the material, yes, we should find the material. So to find the material, we should use the, did I think I copied it? No, I didn't copy that. I had it open 1 second ago. I think I closed it. close that. I closed it. Okay. I closed it, boys. Let's go to F-row data table. No. This one. There was the example at the bottom, right? Yes, this line. So now we can execute this line because we have it in C++, so otherwise we would not be able to do it. So in this case, our structure is called f-struct textures, and now our data table is a udata table. Yeah, the problem is that how do I do this? Udata table. I need to find a data table. They just pass the name. No, this seems to be an object. So this example is not enough, unfortunately. We need to have a listen real engine, otherwise we will find anything. They don't show me how to get the data table. How do I get the data table? Ow! Please. Okay, everyone has his own data table already defined, and so they never tell me how to do it. Come on. Do you know how to do it? Wow, we have a site in Japanese. But the code is not in Japanese, yeah! I want to get a data table by name, come on. You see it? I don't see it. So is declaring shop list data as a udata table, but then does it find it anywhere? In data table, thank you, but how do you pass it in? Japanese guy, how do you pass it in? How do you pass it in, Japanese guy? Man. Start the free trial, thank you now. Thank you. I just need to get it out of the table. What's the freaking problem? Ah, another Japanese side. Seems the Japanese like data tables a lot. They really like data tables. Japanese love data tables. I don't know what they put into it, but maybe sushi, but they really love it. I mean, how do I do it in blueprints? Let me just check. In blueprints, the way I do it is in blueprints. I think I just specify the assets in the drop down. I think there is a drop down. That's the problem. DT item icons. Yeah, there is a freaking drop down. Is there a get data table by name or something? There must be. I mean, the data table is obviously defined only in blueprints, so do you mean that I cannot use it? That is what you're saying, that I cannot use it? Because it's defined here, because obviously the data table, you know, is here. Can I just static load it? Let me try to static load it in Arcade. What was the static load? This one. Can I just static load it like this and GG? So I think it would be like U data table something, and this will be my data table thingy, and this will be this, and this will be this, and this will be this, and this will be DT textures. I mean, I don't know if it will work, but in theory, you know. Okay, in this case, P name is material ID. Is material ID, which has to be changed to string because it doesn't allow me to do this. Can I f string this? I guess no. Can I f c string? What was it? From number? No. Parse number? What was it? Come on. From int. Okay. Okay. So now the point is, if what doesn't like the parameters. Why? He wants an f name. I want an f name. I mean f name. Come on. Why doesn't like F name? F name, E name, const name. Wants it like this? Yes. Oh my god. Just to get a freaking ID, but it's fine. Okay, we get an ID, we convert it to like 3 million different types, and then we get this F name that he wants, and then we get this now. Oh my god, there's a voice. Is it singing as well? Blah 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 blah. Saying something. Okay, so we can try to execute it like this. Now the point is, if my data table is empty, or if my data table cannot be empty, but if I don't find a row, what do I do then? If the data is null, I will not load the material, right? So only if data is valid. If it's not found in the data table, GG. If it doesn't find in the data table, we do nothing. Okay? You think it will work? I don't know. Can we print out at least the material so we know that we got something? Set material asset, blah blah blah. So let's say setting material to %s, and we just use what? Material asset, get name or something. Yes. Okay. So we just print out this and see if we get something, then we change the material. Okay, it's been a bit more complex than I was thinking, but we learned a lot of stuff in between. Now, close this. Oh, no, no. Is the editor open? I don't see the editor open, but this thing seems to be still open. Why is telling me that the editor is still open? I don't see an editor here, bro. Okay. It says that there is an editor open. Or some process is using the DLL. I don't see any. What? Okay, now we deleted it magically. Magically deleted it after a few tries. So what do we want to do? We want to start the server directly, right? Because at this point, let me see if all the pieces are there. So the piece of the setting the material is in place. The data table is in place. The ID is set in our database, so it will be loaded. Then on the client side, we read the data table, read the row, find the row with the right number, get the asset, and assign the asset. I don't know, it should be okay, but if it works at the first try, it will be Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, boys. Okay. Well, at least it didn't crash. Fuck. As soon as I said that, boom. I said it didn't crash. Boom. Okay. So it says fail to find object data table none dt texture data table none dt textures. What is this? I think I need wait. I think I know why. I think I know why. I just placed the name, right? Stupid me. I need the full reference, not just the name. You know what? This music is nice, but I had enough of Celtic music. So what I need to do, I need to take the name of this as a reference, this copy reference. This is what I need to put in my thingy here. Not this shit. Exactly. You always, when you use this find function and stuff, you always need to use the Unreal Engine reference name, or how it's called. Otherwise, it will not work. I saw we had a problem though, because if this data table is failing, this code is crashing. I don't want this code to crash actually. So I think what do? We do if data table, then we execute this, right? Otherwise we don't, because it's never nice to crash, right? Right. I think it is a bit safer at least. Did you guys went to holidays? Did you do something in your holidays? Was it good? What did you do? I was speaking summer holidays. Okay, the server is starting. Launching the client. At least this time it should not crash, but it may still not find the texture. Let's say we should see a bunch of printouts if it finds it. You should see a bunch of printouts because we have a printout whenever we assign it to an object. Boom. He crashed like a boss. Failed to find object, material none. I mean, there are some objects that don't have a texture, I understand, but my point was... Okay. Just failed then. Did it crash completely, or... Yes, it crashed completely. My point was, let me just see where he crashed. He actually crashed on material change. Did he crash again on a freaking printout on the get name? Okay. Okay, so we crashed. We crashed on when trying to print the name of the material. This one. No, not this one. This one. So it cannot find the material from the, so the data is valid, but for some reason the material asset is not. Wow. PS item actor 216 is exactly this line. So yes, we crashed on the printout because material asset is probably null. So it's not able to find whatever material name we are passing through. We should see the item changes material name to something though, eh? We should have this, at least this printout. Item not initialized changes material to 1. Okay, so you see that 1, we got 1 in the as an ID. Then we try to find the row with name 1. And we didn't print out the material name though, so we don't know if this is something, but it seems that it says material none. Material none. Yeah, we should print out the material name, I think, otherwise. Sorry, where I'm getting this material name, am I even assigning it? I'm not, boys. Why you don't watch me? We are not getting the name out. Fuck material name. Is that a texture? Actually, is this thing. The only problem is that if this returns null, right? Because also this one can return null, like it doesn't find it. So I might this is actually going to do something or not. Okay. It is even safer, so let's go error by error, but I think we will squash them all. Squash them all. Okay. Let's try like this. Yes, the first time we do this in the code, so we are fine. We are finding some trouble in understanding how, well, not in understanding, but let's say in creating the proper code that is safe enough and is actually doing what we want to do. But I think we are close. I think we are pretty close to the solution. We're pretty close, boy. Oh, he loaded in. At least he loaded in. Let me see what it says, because the fact he loaded in is not enough. Let me see what it says on the client. If I search for the same string, changing material to 0 to 0 to 3. So someone changed material to, oh yes, Falcon 01C, 01B. Okay, seems to be working. There are some initialized object, but I think it's fine. Okay, let me try to drop an item and see what happens, right? So this item I have in my hand is actually a steel falcon, or anyway, a basic falcon, but it shows as a golden, right? And it should not. So let me go in a place where I can see the item easy. Like here. I drop it here. I think it worked. I think it worked because I said not golden. Let me take a golden one. Yeah, it's working okay. It's working, boys! Okay, so we did this. So the texture is properly set based on whatever we are sending from the server to the client with our ID. You happy about that? You should be very happy about it. So what we do in our code at the moment is, it's a bit long to explain, but let me try. Just for the sake of whoever sees these videos in the future, and we say, I think no one will watch 4 hours anyway, but who cares? Who cares? So what we do at the moment is the following, okay? So maybe I will just take some sections and put them in a kind of a summary, whatever. So server client. So what we do on our item, we have a thingy that is called material ID, which is basically setting the skin of the item. Okay. This material ID is replicated to the client, to all the client, because actually, yes, the basic point here is that we can have multiple clients, right? So it's not just one client, it's multiple clients. So this material ID gets replicated to each client, and then what each client is doing the same thing, but it's basically checking the ID. So check the ID versus the data table. Find the texture, applies the texture. Yeah, well, finds the material and applies the material, right? Yeah, and it is done, exactly the same for the two clients, for any clients. Right? So basically, over the network, we are passing only an ID, like number 1, number 2, number 3, and then, which is very slick, which is very lean, and then we just okay, so this is what we did. Now this was the easy part, because this was the very easy part. Now the problem is that I need to do the same for the character. For the character, oh, by the way, if he doesn't find it in the table, he use the default one, you say? So like this X has no skin defined, but is anyway getting the default texture. Now the items that I have on me, unfortunately, are not correct. Wait, why the UV of this thing is so bad? No maybe the material is not the right one. So if I apply, if I take this, okay, I put the steel falcon in my hand, you will see that is not showing up properly, right? So now in my hand I have a steel falcon and it's showing as golden, right? Because it's showing as the default, and the default is the golden one. Now the problem is that this freaking item is attached to a socket, so it's not really a PS item actor. So we cannot do the same trick that we did before, right? We cannot. We have to do another trick because this trick is not working for the character. And so the theory is, like we said the last time, that we need to set a bunch of variables or whatever, a small structure that keeps track of the customization of your character, right? And then the structure will be used to basically change the materials on the character, right? And we have to do it in the same way we did it for this item. Okay. So this is also the first time we do this, so it may take a bit, but let's see. So where do we start? We need to have in our PS character these properties. The same way we did it for the PS item actor. The problem is how we want to group them, because I think I would like to have, okay, let's start to put this information in the character. Now the question is, do we already have it? Because our car, for example, the traits are already there, right? And the weapon that I have is already there as well. So or I make when I keep the items, let me check. When I keep the items, because everything starts when my character gets updated and I keep his items, right? And I think that this is in the character loading, right? So when I load the character, and I set all these variables, blah blah blah, I calculate the stats, I do a million things. One thing that I do, maybe at the end, is display visual parts of the inventory to the client. If I keep an item, get a keep item, keep item, keep item. Yeah, exactly. So this one, exactly this one, is the function that when the character is loaded is sending to the client the list of the items that I have equipped, so that visually that are standing out visually, so that are visible, and so that I have to load. So in this case it's sending this keep item, and this keep item, if I remember right, is only in blueprint. Yes, it goes to the blueprint and it does the implementation of that, right? And it puts the item on and all that stuff. Now, so I have two pieces. I have this piece in C++, and then I have the piece in the blueprint where I do the actual creation of the item and I attach it to the socket. Now I will have to do the same. with Did you say that? Did you say that the rep notify was also in blueprints? Because what I'm thinking in this case is that since I'm already keeping the item, maybe in the blueprint, you know, maybe I can just do it in the blueprints instead of doing it on the C++ side. Because why I need to do it in the C++ side? If I can do it in the blueprints, it's good enough. Let me launch the editor a second and we reason about it, okay? So how is this rep notify used? Because I never used that. Learning something new. Again. Rep notify. Rep notify. Obviously Unreal Engine. Variable replication. Rep notify. So the rep notify. My problem is that I can also set the rep notify, okay? But then I will need anyway a method. Let me check how this rep notify works because I never used it. So if I go here and I take any variable, so like this one, under replication, there is replicated and rep notify. Okay. Just to avoid messing up too much with the classes, let me open up my fake armor, whatever it is, not intelligent armor. Where is it? Living armor. Okay, let's screw this one, which is no problem if we do some changes. So I would add like a new variable here, okay, which is called weapon texture, just as an example, okay. And this will be an ID, so it will be, yes, weapon texture ID. And this one, for example, I say that is rep notify, right? So replication rep notify. Now, what happens next? So there is rep notify. How do I say that this should be rep notify? So I was expecting to see a function that I could call, no? No? Rep notify? Maybe going the official documentation is better. Often some logic in response to a value or replicated variable changing. Variable that are marked as rep notify. Have a special function of the anytime. Exactly. Exactly. This example in the territory control the scalar value indicating blah 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 blah. Right? So so we have the street light scalar, which is the one changing. So on both client server we have on rep street light scalar, but I mean this on rep, I mean it's automatically added when I click on rep notify. So you mean that now I have an on something on rep? I have no. So how do I so how do I so swap the yellow light, set notifies, discard delays, whatever. So this is just setting the values, right? Sorry, but I don't get it. Where is the function? Where is the function call? I don't get it. The auto generated on rep function is called. Okay, can I see this auto generated on rep function called somewhere? I see it, 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 I found it. Okay, so I didn't see it. It was here. So on rep we haven't texture ID. Okay, so this one is called on every client when that value is changing. It's called on every client whenever that value is changing. Okay, I think it's good. I think it's good. So what we need to do, can we do it in our PS character, or I think we can do it in our PS character so that if I have yeah, I think it's as easy as this. Yeah, I think it could work, and it's pretty easy at the end. So if I go under the equipment, right, the equip item, so here I'm equipping the item. And here, by the way, I'm trying to set the material which will never be seen by anyone, so completely useless. Can't move. So here I'm equipping the item, and I also want to set is material. So what I can do at the end of this, because I want to do it at the end, after the item is being created and stuff, I could set a variable on this character which is called something like right hand texture, right? Simply as that in lab. So we can have one for each socket, and those variables will be rep notify, and as soon as that changes I will then set the material. Yeah, let's try this. I think it may work. So the problem is that do I have this variable? Well, let's do it anyway. Let's do just a test, and then we will see. Okay. So for the items, I think we can create a new variable here, which will be called I think we can call it like the socket. It's probably the easiest, you know. So like right hand texture, right? And this one will be, can this be a boolean as well, or should it be already? I think it should be a boolean because we want to an ID, because we want to change an ID. So I think this should be right hand texture ID. Then we will have another one which is left hand texture ID. And okay, both these two variables are rep notify, right? Both of them are rep notify. So okay, now now I see these two new functions here, so I need to set. So what I will do, the problem is that I don't have a freaking value here, because this function, which is a keep item, is not sending me the ID. It's sending me only the mesh, but not the texture. We have to change this. But let's assume for a second that we have our ID here, okay? So that we get an ID, just as an example. I mean, let's assume we have it, so we don't do the change now. So, and for example, we get the number 3, right? And the same we do here for the left hand. So we get our, so in this case we get number 2, right? Okay. So as soon as this is changed, this will be notified to all the clients, and on the client, inside that particular character, I can do something in this function, which is beautiful. The problem is that I need to pass a parameter to this, huh, boys? No. I need to pass a parameter to this. Well, I have it on the... Oh no, it's okay. I can use the same variable, right? Yeah, I can use the same variable. So we'll get the value of this variable, which hopefully has been set on this client as well, even if it's another client, but hopefully has been set because it's a rep notify, so I assume that it's replicated to all the clients. And on this one, we want to convert it to an F name. I need to convert this to an F name somehow. Okay, then I need to use the same technique that we were using here. If I do again dt item icons, we need to use the same technique of get data row table, because obviously it is, you know, the same thing. Get material by path. I think we need exactly the same thing here. So we will go into our texture. We will get this ID. Come on, Ronin. I cannot put in a row name. Why? Icon name. Get icon material. So here in this case, how do I convert this ID to name? String to name, num to name. I need an int to name. Int to name doesn't exist, but there is a string to name. So Yeah. So I can do this, and finally this. Okay. Okay. Now data table is correct. This thing is correct. I put that in, right? And what else? I need to get the material out of that. Perfect. And then with this material, I want to set the material on the object that I have in my left hand. The problem is that I don't remember if I have a variable that is telling me. I think I should have it, but yeah, current item in right hand. Okay, this guy. This guy. On this guy, I want to set material. On this guy, I want to set my material. Boys, if this works, I will be amazed, I tell you. I will really be amazed if this works. But anyway, I think it should in theory, but it should. So yeah, the way it works is that at the end of the equip, I'm setting. I will be very interested to know when this function is called. Really interested to know. So let me put a printout which says calling on rep right hand texture ID. I'm very interested to see this. How many times it's called and with which values? No, other values I think we don't care too much. Because the idea at the moment is hard coded, so it's okay. It's okay. Okay, let's see. Let's see what it does now. Let's see what it does now. Do you want to save stuff to all of this? Absolutely not. So, server and client. The most complete character is the Noltrir, you say? Okay. Noltrir female. You have retarget the animation. Okay. Okay, so now my client is completely frozen. I don't know what happened, but I think that what we did is not really good. What the hell? My client is completely frozen. I cannot move. I cannot do anything. It's not a good sign, huh? The server is running okay, so the server doesn't care. But the client, boom, like GG, you know. I'm just checking if we have any printouts, but we don't have any printouts. What's going on? It's just random, or I mean the console works, but for some reason I cannot move my character. I don't know what it's doing really. Should we just restart it and hope it was just a temporary problem? Let me see if the client printed out something like on rep. No, the unwrap was not printed out. But strange though. What did I do different? I just added that simple. Let me see if there is any evident error in the client here. Create character quick. Yeah, there are few issues there, but it's not related to what we are doing. Couldn't find file. This I've seen it already. I don't see any errors actually. Okay. Maybe just randomly went. I don't know. Just a random issue. Let's try to launch it again and see. Be surprised it's just a random issue. I think it's something to do with the change that we did. There is an error here. It says error compile use pin out row description no longer exists on node get data row DT texture. Please refresh node break needs to remove pin. Okay. Yeah, so it seems that something was not properly compiled. Let me copy this line because I think that is the problem we are having. And let me copy it and put it whatever here. I think we have an issue like something has not been saved properly. Maybe when I exit and I said don't save, maybe it went into a stupid state where yeah, something needed to be saved. Or maybe I didn't connect some of the pins. Maybe. Let me see. So it's in character blueprint. Oh yes, it's actually giving a problem. Out row description. Okay, I know what happens. Because I copy pasted that here and then I changed the type of data table, and changing obviously the type of data table is changing also the pins, but my pin was connected to the previous one and so I messed up. Okay, fine. It's okay. Yeah, the character was not loading. The plane shift character was really not loading. Okay, that's fine. Now I just resaved it. Now I would be very interested to see then what is going through the network, you know. Maybe that's for another day. But I would be very interested one day to do a kind of a check, you know, of a printout. Okay, so what color is my falcon? There is a golden one. Seems it didn't work. Okay. I was not expecting it to work at the first run actually, but okay, let's see why. At least it didn't crash. So let me see. But maybe it actually worked because I decided that on the left hand I have a color and the right hand I have another color. So let me switch it. No, it's still golden. Okay. So it's not applying the texture basically. It's not applying the texture. Let me see if at least if he receives the information properly. Since that our unwrap, yes, it's actually is actually calling on rep, but then we have an error which says fail to find object material instance blah 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 blah. Game weapons words Falcon 01C mat Falcon 0C mat fail to find object. But it's actually trying to keep the Falcon 1C. Let me see if the next one. Falcon 1C, because at a certain point I switched, you know. And I would like to see if by any chance. Anyway, it's always saying Falcon 1C. Okay. Fail to find object, material instance, games weapons world Falcon material. Okay. So it seems that when the client receives this, it's going into this data table. I think the outro is correct. Just a bit surprised that why we don't get two different materials though, because I think I have it different, right? When it's in right hand or left hand, I have number 3 and number 2. When it's in left hand is number 2. When it's in right hand is number 3. So when it's in left hand should be Falcon 0B. When it's in right hand it should be Falcon 0C. But for whatever reason that is not changing. That is not changing. Strange. What is the left? The left is this one. The left is this one. So I was expecting on the client to see no. Why is not updating? I mean, why I'm not receiving another on rep when I remove the item and when I put it on again? I was expecting to see another on rep, but I don't see it. Why? Because the value stays the same. Yeah, because the value stays the same. So okay, we should have a kind of a flip-flop there so that it changes the value all the time to debug. But yes, because now in that hand he has a certain color and he always goes into the same color. Yeah. So it's only when that changes that is triggering the unwrap. Okay, fine. Yes. Okay, that's fine. But it still says that it cannot find the texture. That's basically what it's saying. It is basically what it's saying. Because it's golden if I put it here. And it's golden if I put it here. It doesn't make any difference. Well, in theory it should, but it's only on rep notify. It's only on rep notify. It's only on rep notify change. It's only on rep change. No. Wait a second. Our coding it is good, but for a quick test, but it's giving us some issue because this one now is always staying the same. After the first time I set it, it's always staying the same. But still is saying that it cannot find the texture, which is a bit weird. Basically, get material by path, right? I don't know if it's this one giving the error or is the set material giving the error. Material instance. This get material by path is something I have created, by the way. I think it's something that I have created. Is in BP utils. Let me just check what it's doing. BP utils, which is here, and then get material by path is this function, which is trying to create a new material instance, right? New material instance. Were we using material instance also in the other case? No. I was actually using a material, U material. I was using a U material instead of a material instance. I don't know if it's different or not, but I was using a U material. I'm using a U material here. To get my texture. So it's saying that it cannot find it. Now this one is okay, but where was that? It's this one. It's this one. Cannot fail to find object. Material instance game weapons was fucking mad. Why searching this? Do we have this in the database? 1, 2, 3. Do we have this in our table or? We have material. We don't have material instance. Why is that's the problem. Because we have material here, but our get texture is getting a material instance, and I think that then when he's executing this line of code, it's failing. Okay, I think I understand it. So when he's executing this line, he's saying, "Hey, you passed me a material, not a material instance. I cannot do it." Why were you using material instance, by the way? I think we needed a material instance for some reason in the other case. Why we needed a material instance in the other case, not a material, because for some reason here get material by path, get local material. I don't know, we were doing a bunch of stuff here with this material instance, so who cares? Let's say that that's okay. Okay. Can I? So, or I do another function that works on uMaterial instead of uMaterial instance, which is pretty easy to do. I can put another utils, and call it get uMaterial. But it would be good for me. Yeah, there is a get material by path. Well, this is the one that I made. Fuck it. Is there a get material somehow by name or something? No, I should make it myself. I mean, I can make it. It's super easy. I would be more eager to change the other one and call it material instance, but because I don't see it. There is a get dynamic material. Okay. Not particularly complex. We can just add another function. I don't know why we use this material instance. It actually get material by path. We can call it get material by reference, maybe. I don't know. So let's go here and let's add a new function, which is called get material. Is returning a U material, and it's called get U material by path. Okay, let's say get U material by path, and the implementation will be super easy, just one line. This will return a U material. It will be called get U material, and it will just be like this, and we return this. Okay, fine. So at this point, what we can do, I need to save this and I need to recompile to have my new function. Because I will have this new get material, right? I don't know why this set material is taking, because it's taking a material interface. So whatever it is. I hope material interface is compatible with U material. I hope so. We will see very, very soon. Very, very soon. Okay, so what are we doing? We are just recompiling this because it should be fine already. So we're just launching the editor again. So it recompiles the DLL and we get our new function. And we call that function and we see if it works. Okay, and I think we should be fine. And then I will have to remove the R coding, okay, because the R coding is a bit fucked up. Because at the moment, whenever I'm keeping an item on the right hand, but the good thing of this is that if I keep the same item twice, I'm not changing anything client side. I don't know if it will work that way. We will have to see. I'm a bit confused about this replication at the moment. Okay, so here instead of this one, we want to call get U material by path, okay, which is the new function that we just created. And the path would be this, and this one hopefully will go there. Yes, it does. Okay, so let's compile it this way. And let's launch the server and client and see what it does, okay? I think it should work. The only problem I have, it's a bit long to explain, so I will not explain it. We will just see it in practice, but I think there is a case where it's not working. There is one case where there is not working, but we'll see. But basically at the moment, I'm getting the texture number 2 on one end, the texture number 3 on the other end. So if the texture changes, I think we are good to go. Is it still golden? It's still golden. It's still very golden. Let me put it on the other end. It's still very golden. Do we get the error of the material? Keeping mesh. Now the error seems to be gone, so we fix the error. The problem is that it's not working anyway. Let me just keep the item in my left hand. What was the one? What was the one that had the non-golden one? So the left. So the number 3. So what is the normal one? The C or the B? You want the C or the B? We want the B. Okay, we want the B. The B. So the B is number 2. And number 2, we associated it to the left hand. So the one that I have now. The one that I have now. So let me relaunch it because I want to see if it works only at loading time, which is the problem that I was thinking. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is it golden? No, it's the gold. Is it the golden one, right? It doesn't look very golden, but no, it is golden. I think it's easy to say. I can just drop it and see if it changes color, but yeah, it's very good. Unfortunately, this camera is fucking is stupid. So well, I could do probably no, I can do this and this. Okay. Yeah, if I want to see it better, I can do this. But yes, it looks. It's a bit less golden, but I think it's golden. So yeah, if I drop it, I guess it's this thing is not working, boys. I need to understand why, but it's not working. It's not working. I think at the moment we are passing in the right values because we are passing in the value here. Okay, number 3 and number 2. We are, by the way, what we could do, we could set notify to 0. We could set notify to 0 when we de-equip the weapon. Yeah, that would be a good idea. So that at least we are sure that we are calling the rep notify again when the new weapon is put on. So there should be a de-equip, right? There should be an equip, but also a what is it? Event equip item, okay. But there should also be one to remove items, right? No, is inside of this. Keep item. I think there was one. Keeping items. Item keep, item de-equip. Okay, yes, there was, but I didn't find it. Item de-equip. So I think that here what we can do is to set to 0 or to -1, whatever. Items, textures, set. So this is the right hand, right? This is the right hand. We can set it to -1. And the left hand, we can set it as well to -1. So this value will be invalidated, right? will be invalidated for yeah, when we remove the item, which is good because this means that we can call over and over that function by just keeping and de-keeping. The problem I have is that it seems that my set material is doing absolutely nothing. So when I execute this, because I did it only on the right hand and not on the left hand. Okay, so we still have a chance that it works then. We still have a chance. Now that we put that to 0, I need the same thing. Wait. I need the same thing in the left hand, otherwise we mess up, okay? Let's do the same thing also here in the left hand. In the left hand, we want to take the ID of the left hand, which is on rep notify, and we want to get this from the table in the same way, get the material in the same way, but then we want to get the item in the left hand and set this value. Now the problem is, if the ID is -1, we should do nothing, right? So we should have a branch here at the beginning in both cases, left hand and right hand, if this end texture is actually equal, integer equal to -1. So if it's equal to -1, then we do nothing. If it's false, then we do this. Okay. Just get some space here, otherwise it gets confusing. Okay. So the same thing we should do on the right hand, exactly the same. So we go here, if it's false we go here, and this is right hand and not left hand. Okay, so at least we reset it and we check if it's not -1, if it's -1 we go for this. Okay, so let's try now. I think it should be better. Now I'm still puzzled why the server doesn't propagate this information automatically. I'm still a bit puzzled because it would have been so easy, you know. I mean, the only case I can think about is that for some reason you want to have different textures in different clients, but I mean that's more an exception than the norm, right? So why I should replicate the material manually? I don't get it. I think as soon as an object changes its material, it should get replicated, right? Okay, now if I move it to the right hand, what happens? Absolutely nothing. Still wrong. That's not nice. It's still wrong. Why still wrong? Well, first of all, we have some issue in reading the property value current item in right hand. Okay. We have some issue. But that variable, okay, because that variable I think is not replicated. Yes. That's the reason. This variable here that I'm trying to set, current item in right hand, is not replicated. Right hand texture ID is but then why I just don't do a rep notify on this one? Because I want the idea. Okay. Because this one is not the material. Is the so I can have the same item, but the texture may change. Yes. Yes. I think I convinced myself. So this one is not replicated, so it cannot get it, so it doesn't know. So the other client doesn't know what is replicated and what is not replicated. So let's try to replicate those two things. I will have to think a bit more about it, but let's just try to have it work, and then we will think a bit more. But so current item in right hand, I would like to have it replicated. Now, if I say replicated, is it to all clients? I don't remember, boys. If I select replication replicated, is it replicated automatically to all the clients or only to the owning client? We will see very soon, I think, because we will see if it gives us the error or not. Okay, it's very easy to see. If I restart the server and the client, so now maybe you should not give that error anymore, but on another client it may not work. So the other client may not see the change in texture. We will see. I don't know. I don't remember if it is replicate, because there is the multicast, you know, and one thing is replicating client server, one thing is replicating multicast, which is different. So I don't remember if a variable, if I replicate a variable, that variable goes to, wow, what happened? Oh my god. For a second, everything became black or white over it. So, okay, daily override, give me some light. I want to see my weapon. It seems to be golden as usual. Let me see if I have an error on the client about right hand, left hand not working properly. This is the client, right? I don't see the error. So it seems that that is now replicated. So if I switch hands, it's still golden though. Fuck it. And now we gave the error. Access none, trying to read the property current item in left hand. I replicated only the right hand. Boys, look at me when I'm doing stuff so you can correct me. I replicated only the right hand. You serious? No, I replicated both. I replicated both. I said replicated on both. So this is happening. This is happening client side. Yes, yes, because the rep notify is called clients. Okay, let's do something. Let's try to change. Let's just try to change the material to whatever, right? Just for the fun of it. Yes, but it will not. So we have a problem with this variable because this variable seems that is not properly propagated to our client. You know what, boys? The only problem is that I'm finishing time. It's at midnight and I have to go. But I think we did some good progress. At least we fixed the item. So in terms of our missions, we did mission number 1. So enable skin changes on item on the ground. Wait, let me separate these two a bit because they are very, very close to each other. So mission number 1 is completed. Mission number 2 is a bit more complex and we are having some issue with that. But we can continue tomorrow. So mission number 1 is done, and number 2 we have a number of problems. I mean the theory is, I think the theory is okay, but there is something that is not working with the replication that I have to check and understand better. Okay? With that said, I think I will close the stream, and thank you for watching, and yeah, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow evening, most likely tomorrow evening. Okay? See you, boys.